All right, we'll make call to order. First thing on the agenda is to approve the minutes from the May 1st meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, get a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, on to the next thing, unfinished business. Appeal.
Yes, if Scott would like to come up and speak first, that's fine with us. Otherwise, we have not received any information.
Morning. As part of my continued appeal, I feel compelled to address a broader issue that affects not just this project, but many others throughout the city of Fargo. The lack of meaningful inspection and accountability within the city's permitting process for siding work. The city charges permit fees with the implied promise that those fees support oversight, guidance, and code enforcement through properly documented inspections. However, in the case of siding permits, there appears to be no scheduled or documented inspection point for underlayment materials, a critical component of any exterior wall system. Despite multiple field visits by inspectors during this project, no one raised any concerns or offered any direction about the underlayment being used. This is not an isolated oversight. It is indicative of a broader systemic failure. Through both observation and conversations with other contractors in the city, it is evident that underlayment inspections are rarely, if ever, performed, even though every project is expected to meet code and manufacturer installation standards. The city's own inspection logs do not reflect any checkpoints tied to siding or underlayment. So how can the city retroactively penalize a project if it has never had a process to verify compliance in the first place? We are now in a situation where a contractor, acting in good faith and in full view of inspectors, is being told months later that the approved materials and methods used must be torn off and replaced, not because of performance failure, but because of an internal bureaucratic reevaluation. This is not enforcement. It's shifting the burden of accountability onto professionals who did exactly what they were permitted to do. I'll be the first to admit, it's possible I made a mistake. Maybe I used an underlayment that doesn't meet the city's current interpretation of code. But this is the exact material I was taught to use over my years in the trade, and it's what I've seen installed across dozens of jobs. At no point in the past 15 years as a licensed contractor in this city has anyone from the inspections department told me that it was incorrect. Not on this project or any other. When you are trained one way, permitted one way, inspected without issue, and see the same thing happening all over town, how are we to know otherwise? The depth at which the city expects every contractor to know, interpret, and apply every nuance of the building code, especially when even their own inspectors are unfamiliar with commonly used products, is not just unreasonable, it's impossible. If the standard is perfection, with no room for practical experience or approval-based trust, then what are the actual expectations? What are the repercussions for me, for doing what I believed was right, what I submitted, and what was approved? This is yet another example of a system where the government takes from its citizens, collecting fees, taxes, and compliance obligations, but gives nothing of substance in return. Contractors and homeowners pay for permits under the assumption they are receiving a legitimate service. Instead, they are left to guess at what will or will not be enforced. Without any real guidance, and when the project is complete, the city has no problem reassessing the property and increasing the tax burden, regardless of whether it held up its end of the bargain during construction. Worse yet, the appeals process itself raises questions of fairness, of equity and fairness. When the appeal board is comprised of individuals who may have vested interests in maintaining favorable relationships with the city, many of whom are wealthy and professionally embedded in development circles, how can any contractor expect a truly neutral hearing? If there's no meaningful separation between those enforcing the process and those judging it, due process becomes a performance, not a right. The public deserves better from its governing bodies. If permit holders cannot trust that they are being inspected fairly and in accordance with a consistent and transparent process, then the permitting system fails its purpose. This appeal is about more than one project. It is about a system that expects accountability from its builders, but offers none in return. I respectfully request that the city not only reverses this correction notice, but also examine the greater issue of permitting integrity, field inspections, and fairness to those who rely on the system to function properly. Furthermore, how are homeowners over the past several decades supposed to know whether they have the correct underlayment installed beneath their siding when it was never inspected in the first place? There's also the flip side of the coin. Can homeowners now demand from the city to verify their own underlayment compliance? And how exactly would that be done? By tearing off perfectly good siding? Does the city refund those permit fees if it failed to provide adequate inspection services? Does it retroactively correct tax valuations if homes were built to what was believed to be code compliant but weren't flagged at the time? I'm not making accusations here. I'm just asking the questions. But they're questions the city should be asking itself. Does this open up future liability from other homeowners who unknowingly relied on a system that never actually inspected what it was supposed to? I always grew up believing that the relationship between a contractor and the inspections department was a form of teamwork, working together towards better, safer, more successful projects. But this experience has changed that view. Now it feels like it's us versus them, citizens against the government. And that should worry us all, but no one should be surprised. It's the culture the government has created, one of separation, distrust, and unaccountable authority. We should be careful how much we allow this system into our projects, because right now it's operating without accountability. The city can approve drawings, overlook inspections, and then retroactively punish people for doing what was submitted, reviewed, and accepted. They can drain your time, your energy, and your money, forcing you to hire legal counsel to defend what should have been protected by the permit you paid for. This happens at a time when working professionals are already exhausted, working their butts off, raising families, and navigating a world where our buying power has diminished. Meanwhile, the people in power, government officials, legacy property holders, and those fortunate enough to have been born in the right time period continue to enjoy privileges and protections that seem out of reach for the average citizen. To the citizens of Fargo, this issue is not isolated. It's not just about one building. It's about how our local government treats the people doing the work. The contractors, the builders, the homeowners who invest in this city every single day. We can no longer stand by while agencies operate without accountability, collect fees without service, and rewrite the rules after the fact. If we want a better system, one that works for everyone, we need to demand transparency, fairness, and common sense. We need to speak out, stay informed, and hold leadership to the same standards they expect of us. It's time to resist unchecked control, because the city belongs to its people, not just its bureaucracy. This history has a history of this before. They have been taken to court and they have lost, and they have had to deal with those situations. So I ask the citizens of Fargo, if you want to join me on the legal end of this to make sure that your property was taken care of, was inspected correctly, and you're getting the most out of your value, your property valuation, find me, because I'm really ready to fight. Thank you. That's it. Do your best.
Does the city have anything to respond with?
I guess my only response is pointing to the code, the 2021 International Residential Code, R 105.4, the validity of a permit. And if you allow me, I'll just read the section to you so you know what I'm talking about. The issuance or granting of a permit shall not be considered to be a permit for or an approval of any violation of any of the provisions of this code or of any other ordinances of the jurisdiction. Permits presume to give authority to violate or cancel, permits presuming to give authority or violate or canceling any provisions of this code or other ordinances of the jurisdiction shall not be valid. The issuance of a permit based on construction documents and other data shall not prevent the building official from requiring the correction of errors in the construction documents, requiring the correction of errors in the construction documents or other data. The building official is authorized to prevent occupancy or use of a structure where it, in violation of this code or of any other ordinances of the jurisdiction. So to me, that means that if we find a deficiency, no matter what stage it is in the process, we have a duty to call that deficiency out. That's just what we've done here. We notice something, even if the contractor fails to call in for inspections and things like that, if we notice it on a subsequent inspection, we have a duty to call it out and have it corrected, and that's all we're trying to do with this. Thank you.
I guess the last time we met, we left it at finding alternate solutions, I believe. Was there any alternate solution discussed or found?
This is my alternative solution.
Okay. So basically, there is no alternate solution to.
No, this is my alternative solution.
Okay.
We'll see where we're going. Let's play ball.
Okay. So, what is the question for the board right now?
The question for the board from the city is please uphold our determination that this product was installed incorrectly, needs to be removed, and a weather barrier needs to be installed underneath it. It's clear in the codes as far as we can see, and also from the manufacturer of the product that was used.
Well, any other discussion from the board right now?
Yeah, I'd say that the material was specified by Mr. Doms. The material was installed under his supervision as the contractor. The material is not approved for this use by the supplier and the manufacturer. I don't see how we can do anything other than stand behind the city's decision. I don't know that there's any other alternative here in the absence of an alternative approach.
Yeah, I agree. I guess we could make if anyone wants to make a motion to reject the appeal.
I'll make a motion to reject the appeal and uphold the city's findings.
Okay, get a second.
A second.
All those in favor say aye.
I,
Any opposed? Okay, the motion to reject the appeal has been voted on and agreed. Okay, any new business?
Nope, no new business.
Any announcements?
Nope.
Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
so moved.
Give me a second. All right, meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.